Hi, and welcome to the Spiritual Awakener podcast. This is a podcast where I get to interview really cool people about their spiritual awakening stories and how they look after you, the collective. Now, you may have had a spiritual awakening that you didn't even realize was that, but it led you to change something in your life. And you became this person where you aligned so much more to who you truly are in the world. That's definitely what happened to me at 27. If you want to listen to my awakening story after this one, go over to episode 1 where you hear all about how I got woken up in the night. Anyway, enough about that. I'm just so excited to have my guest today, Jay Gobind. I love her. And the reason why I love her is I had a couple of astrological readings just recently. I found her, you know how the universe works, it kind of aligns you to who you're meant to be with. And I really love the way that she works. She has a beautiful spiritual energy about her. And that's the kind of people that I love to have on my show. So thank you so much, Jay, for being here. I love your channel for Grace. Jay has a YouTube channel, which I think she might be streaming now at the same time as me streaming on my YouTube channel. And it's a beautiful channel. So we're going to have a great conversation. Welcome to the Spiritual Awakener, Jay. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
You knew it's going to be cool, right? You know it's going to be a cool conversation. Very down to earth, although we work very in the realms of spirit, but we're very down to earth with it, which is one of the things I loved about you. So, Jay, tell us a bit about yourself and perhaps how you awakened.
Yes. So I am an astrologer, and for the last year or so, I've been just diving deep into like everything that has to do with astrology. But my story is I wasn't always that, right?
No, right?
Yeah. So ever since I was little, I think I've always felt this deep connection to the stars. Always looking up at the stars, kind of like a stargazing kind of energy. And I've always felt a little bit different from people. I always kind of felt like I was maybe adopted. You know what I mean? Like just out of place.
Adopted from a star system and brought down. That's probably more like it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I describe to people like how I experienced growing up and feeling so different and being in a family that didn't really know how to maybe harness or understand those gifts. I talk a lot about this that in shamanic cultures, they look at the children, and there are certain children that just show signs of, okay, they're tapped in, they're tuned in to spirit, and so they will harness that energy, or they will give those children an opportunity to really flourish. Well, I didn't have that, and I think a lot of us don't have that because our
Yeah.
parents just don't understand what the spiritual world, and so we end up having this like intense dark night of the soul experience later on in life, where we fully either we get to choose to fully embody our power. And I think that's what happened with me. I think it was 22 or 23 years old. I was born in Argentina, moved to the US when I was 8, and kind of grew up there, went to high school there, college, and all that stuff.
You're still there now, right? Whereabouts in the US are
No, I'm
you?
actually in Sedona, Arizona now.
Arizona, yeah, that's right. And I'm in the UK. Yeah. So we're
Yeah.
talking from UK to Arizona.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
actually really cool for me too. So I remember feeling so kind of lonely in LA, not connected. I mean, LA is it's a vibe. It's this whole thing, and I was not feeling comfortable there. It was like too much. I was so sensitive. This is one of my
Yeah.
gifts, sensitivity. And so the energy of the city like that was just too much. So I needed to go somewhere calmer. So I moved to Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
And that's really where my I started to dive into everything spiritual. It started with
Yeah.
yoga. It was very simple. I started taking yoga classes and teacher trainings and all that good stuff, and that was kind of my stepping stone into
Yeah.
like the world of spirit. I met someone in Colorado that I was with for actually 5 years, and that was like my big dark night of the soul experience,
Wow. Yeah.
because he was Native American,
Mhm.
and we would run Native American ceremonies together. And that was where I really started to tap into my gifts. I had the gifts, I just never had a way to share them or experience them or process or any of that stuff. And so when that relationship ended was really when I was like kind of lost and confused. And someone who's actually my friend, who's actually not my husband, he
Yeah.
he suggested that I read a book called Lightworker. And I think it's Savannah Arienta is the author of the book. And it was the first time, it's a very simple book. But it goes through and explains like you may be this type of light worker or you may be this type of light worker. And it was the first time that I actually was able to understand what I was here to do. And that's when it really blew up for me. I started reading and studying, and I have a lot of Gemini energy in my chart. So
Okay.
talking and researching and all this stuff and reading and like just taking in more and more
Have you got
knowledge is
North
like
Node in Gemini at the moment? Is it North Node or?
it is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
So that's one of my gifts, knowledge. I'm actually if we jump forward, I'm actually an Orion starseed, and the Orion starseeds are all about knowledge and taking in that information. They come through with a lot of knowledge, but they also can't get enough, you
I
know?
think that sounds like me. I think I'm the same. I'm like, give me the
Yeah.
knowledge. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like we're like that sponge that just wants to keep,
Mm.
absorbing more and more. So I started to just dive into that world. And when I did, that's when my gifts be started to get activated. And so I'm an intuitive, I am a psychic reader, and then the astrology came so naturally to me. I tell people that this isn't the first time I've done this. Like I came with the knowledge of astrology from past lives, and I
I
am
think I did
now.
as well, Jay, because even though I haven't done very much study and I have done some study, I honestly just feel naturally that eons ago I would have been an astrologer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. And when I look at my chart now, so you know, fast forward to now, my passion is starseed markings in the chart. So to find out who your starseed family is, who you come from, your starseed kind of cosmic soul.
Yeah.
And you can see that by focusing on the fixed stars, which are basically the constellations. It's like the backdrop of astrology.
Yeah.
So that's my passion right now. And I know I am myself a starseed, and I am here to help other starseeds, when they start to wake up, because it's like that quote, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like that
Exactly.
for me. A
Yeah.
lot of people come to me when they're ready to really take in the information, because it's so esoteric and like ethereal that if you're not in that right space
They've
to
got to be
really
ready, right? For they're aligned
yeah,
to match and aligned, the universe lines up for you. Like my mission is to help people on their mission. So mine is like, if you need to heal your trauma, come to me, right? But only if you're ready to align to your mission, right? And yours
exactly.
is that, like, find
Yeah.
out who you are, find out where you're from, and this is going to really help you on your mission, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And it really, for me, it was when I started to heal myself, because I went through my, dark night of the soul. It was the relationship I was in was really kind of emotionally abusive. And I grew up with narcissistic mother. And that was really difficult to kind of peel off the layers. Like, who am I? Like, where am I? I'm somewhere in here, but I'm not that. And
And
I'm
mine
not
was the
that, but I am
narcissistic
this.
father. Mine was the narcissistic. So I love him. I love him. But he was the narcissistic father. And so did you attract? I attracted narcissistic vibration, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when I met my husband, Don, he was on another wavelength, and he was actually the catalyst for me to like rise up into my full power, to realize who I am and to stop doubting myself and all that stuff. But it took years to really process
Yeah.
all that and get to a point where by healing myself, my gifts shine. And that's what I like to teach people. It's like you got to work on yourself,
In
no
a
matter
way.
anybody else. Nobody else. You don't have to fix anybody else. You just got to stand in your own power, but you have to know who you
You
are. And I
speak
think
my
the strong.
language. This is the language I speak. I
Yeah,
say, like, there's no holy grail. You are the holy grail, right? There's us. We support people. We hold the space. We have our gifts and our abilities, which everyone has. They have their own gifts and abilities. But we ourselves have to be responsible.
yes.
Have to be.
100%.
Mine, you know, like we're all on the same journey, aren't we? We just got to take responsibility for what we are attracting. Yeah. And if
Yes.
you don't like what you're attracting, then you have to heal within, don't you? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So this time, Jay, like now, what's going on? We've got this, we talked before we went live, and we've got this Venus star, which I really want you to talk about. But we've also got this weekend. This is the 19th of March 21. So if you're listening to this later, we are just on the spring equinox, the spring here anyway, in this side of the world. So talk about the spring equinox and what it means for us in our journey.
Yes, I would love to. So it's really cool because the spring equinox, from the perspective of astrology, is actually our new year.
Yes.
Because Aries is the first sign, and then Pisces is the last one. So right now we're at like the last. It's so cool that we're doing this at the last degree of Pisces with the sun.
Right?
So we're like connecting. So, but when the sun moves into Aries, it begins the wheel once again. And you think Aries is the fool, right? It's that initiation energy. It likes to spark things. It's a cardinal sign, so it likes to get things going. And then we keep it moving with that Taurus energy when the sun moves into Taurus. So we can travel with the sun, which is really beautiful. With the seasons, the astrological seasons, not just the equinoxes and solstices, but with the astrological seasons. If you flow with those energies, then you will be in the zone, But the spring equinox is all about new beginnings. We celebrate new life. It is about starting new projects. It's the moment where right now the sun and the night and the day, the daylight, they're equal length right now. So that's why it's the equinox, right? It's the play of light between the sun and the earth. Those are the seasons, and we're transitioning from the winter into the spring. So in the winter, you can think of the little seed that is planted, that's in the cocoon, going through its transformation phase. And then when the spring comes,
that's my book, right, that went through the seed. That's why I got in contact with you. Had that astrological reading, right, about when to put my book into the publishers.
That's right, yes.
And so my seed was and oh my god, I feel so like, let's get on with it. And I know that Pisces is the end of the end of a cycle and beginning of a new. And I'm thinking, and I still haven't heard. Yeah. And it said up to 4 weeks, and we're at 3 weeks on Monday. So I'm like, it's got to happen around this time, right? That makes total sense.
Yeah. So then that little seed, when the sun moves into Aries, which is the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, it bursts out, and that's the energy that we feel, and it's really exciting because we go from water to like fire.
Yeah. And hopefully some more sunshine here in the UK as well.
I'm so lucky. I was in Portland for a while. For 1 year, I lived in the Portland area, and I was like, God help me.
Oh, it's like England. Well, we actually love England, but we've got beautiful blue skies. I look up now and the sun will come around and it'll probably shine right on my face, which is really nice when I'm doing these interviews. But
it's so beautiful.
We don't. Yeah, can you see it behind on my screen? But we don't have sun as a rule, so we don't. So when we get sun, we're like worshippers out there. And I know when I went to San Diego, because it's supposed to be really nice out there all the time, right? I went to San Diego. Everyone was there. They were like, "Oh, it's too hot." I'm like, get me out in the sun. I was like just standing there in the sun getting all this sun, because we just don't get it. So for us, this is positively boiling.
This is the same energy in the Oregon. It was the same. And now that we're in Sedona, because I'm that sensitive where like when the clouds come, I'm like, ooh. Sun, but I'm like, I'm like a little flower. Like I'm not even kidding. I'm like a flower.
Nothing grows in the dark, right? Nothing grows. It's like I'm under the ground, right? I'm in the dark. Okay, now the sun's out. I'm out.
Exactly.
And when you think of I'm trying not to digress, but I'm having fun. But when you think of what we've been through, you know, like, you know, where we've been, let's just say inside, physically inside, not so much here. We've kind of broken the rules a lot. So we go out and we walk by the sea, and we've got a puppy and we do all of that. But here in the UK, it's been pretty strict. And so you're not really supposed to go out unless you're exercising. So exercise can be something that is formed of many things, can't it? Yeah. What's your perception of exercise, right? Exactly. So anyway, so we exercise a lot outside and breathe in the fresh air, but we've all had to go within. And I think that this coming up to the equinox is what I'm feeling as a guide step in here with you, is that this is a time for us to come out, you know, not come out necessarily with your sexuality or coming out of the spiritual closet, although that might be it, but come out so that we can be seen.
For some of us, it will be that.
Yeah.
Because I think we're all awakening. This is a great awakening.
Absolutely.
And more people are really like, okay, what am I doing here? What, like, what's going on in the world? Like, it's in everyone's conscious awareness now. Before it was like, you were just like, a lot of people just unconsciously going through life. And now all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, that's the great awakening. It's the like
questioning, And do you find that, you know, synchronicity wise, because there are no coincidences, right? But synchronicity, do you meet these people like, and for some reason the conversation opens a door for someone? I that happened just today with my children, and just the conversation opens the door for the questioning of certain subjects, right? And that is amazing, because more and more people that perhaps would have gone down a particular road, you know, whether it's religion, whether it's the narrative of what's going on at the moment in the 3D, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is, but they're coming to think about their own perception of something and their own power, as you spoke about earlier, you know, coming into your own power. And that, do you feel like with this equinox, do you feel we're going to see a lot of this, like champagne popping?
I think so, yes. And the reason is because it's an equinox that's happening and the sun is moving into Aries, but we are also just 5 days after having a very powerful conjunction between the sun and Venus. And they're creating what we call the Aries star point. So Venus does this very beautiful orbit. It's like, that's why she's called perfection. Yeah, she does this beautiful orbit, you know, in this relationship between the sun, the earth, and Venus. And every 9 months, she makes a conjunction. And so when she only goes retrograde every 18 months. It's a rebirth. Yes.
Birth, 9 months, right? Yeah. No mistake.
Yes. There's that too. It's like, you
didn't think of that, did you? You didn't think of that, did you? Like giving birth every 9 months, right? Yeah. That makes sense, you know.
Yeah. And so as she does these conjunctions, it creates one of the little points on the 5-pointed star. And it's a very it's like a rebirth for her, because she gets burned out by the light of the sun. She's either in front of it, in between the earth and the sun, or she's behind it on the other side of the sun. Right now, she's on the other side of the sun. She's going to make what they call the superior conjunction. Wow. And that means that she's the farthest away from Earth, and she's literally looking out into the abyss of the universe. So, and she's like getting ready to be reborn again and become the evening star.
Yeah.
Because for 9 months, she was the morning star. Now she's going to be the evening star, which is, she goes from being the queen of Earth to the queen of heaven and earth.
Wow.
So this is what we're transitioning
don't we? We want both. We want to be connected to our earth star, you know, our earth, and we want to be connected to our soul star, you know, with both. We need both, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that because that conjunction is happening around the same time, basically in astrology terms, it's all happening right now. Like, you know, and we're feeling it now because the orb is like, you're coming into the energy, it becomes the climactic point, and then it kind of fades away. That's how astrology works. It's not like this time at this exact minute. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
that can be said, because when you're born, you're this exact minute. That's your snapshot, isn't it, of your chart? Your snapshot of what you chose.
So astrology can be exact in
Yeah.
terms of this is when the exact conjunction is happening exactly on this day at this time, these minutes and seconds. But at
Yeah.
the same time, we will feel that
Yeah.
as a
Lead up.
phase and as a progression instead of just it comes and goes in a moment. So that's what we're feeling right now. It's like this beautiful activation. And Venus in Aries is like she's she's in Pisces now. And so she loves being in Pisces, which you know, she gets to be dreamy and
Dreamy. I was going to say very
romantic.
spiritual, very watery, very, yeah,
Yeah. And
ethereal.
now she enters like Mars world in Aries, because Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. So now that she enters this like very kind of masculine space, a very active, action oriented space.
Driven.
Yes, exactly. Driven, wanting to take action.
Yeah.
And Venus is about love. She's the goddess of love. She's also the goddess of war. I don't know if most people don't realize that, but even to the Mayans, the morning star was like wartime, and the evening
See,
star was like the
peace.
opposite, the peace. Yeah, exactly. So she's known as the both. She has both of those frequencies within her. So when
This
she's in the more,
weekend, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's
yes,
protest, right?
yeah.
So that's a balance, would you say, of people who are trying to talk about the love and the choice that they have, but fighting from a perspective of Mars.
Yes, it because every sign in the zodiac has like a beautiful light, like higher frequency vibration, and then a shadow.
Yeah,
So when we're in the shadow
yeah,
of that energy, that's when all the gnarly stuff comes out and comes through, and it's hard to control, because when we're in a shadow space of anything, it's hard to control ourselves, our emotions, our actions, what we do, what we say, all that stuff. But when we're in that higher frequency, which is like lighter, literally lighter vibrations or higher vibrations, that is a space of love and compassion. So what we can be in that Aries energy, but still be in it with love and compassion.
So I think that's, the word peaceful protest, peaceful and protest, that's this Venus Mars, isn't it? I hadn't thought of that before, but it just
Yeah.
makes sense that this is happening this weekend here in the UK, definitely, and I'm sure all over the world. And it is somebody feeling peaceful about themselves, but protesting to be peaceful. So
Taking
that
action,
makes sense. Action, yeah, action, yeah.
place of compassion. Yeah.
So, what are we likely to expect with this Venus star, this beautiful conjunction? Because obviously, we had a really big conjunction at the end of the year. We had that Saturn Pluto Jupiter conjunction, didn't we? Which was really, I felt it like, for the purpose of the audio, my hands are kind of going like tectonic plates, because I actually did find it like that. And I was like, wow, this is the time I'm going to put my book into the publishers. No. Did it happen? No, it happened later, because it was meant to happen later. But it's that kind of feeling. So is it similar? What are we going to experience with this Venus star?
More than anything, I think in terms of our relationships, if things have been feeling stuck, it's going to be action time. It's going to be make decision time. It's going to be like, just start moving. Just start
What if you're
going forward.
single?
If you're single, it could be the
Ah,
beginning of a new relationship, because we just finished the zodiac cycle.
yeah.
So if it's what you want, if it's what you truly
Yeah.
desire, but also it's like the whole relationship thing is like its own bubble,
Yeah.
but I definitely because I feel like relationships, it really is a lot with your own personal, where you're at in life and all that stuff, right? But
Yeah.
in terms of the astrology, Venus in Aries it will go for what it wants, because Aries knows what it wants. It's a very impulsive sign.
Yeah.
So we are going to go for what we want, and for the next 9 months, because that's how long it takes for her to make that next conjunction. She's going to go retrograde. It's actually the next one, I think it's going to happen in Capricorn. Don't quote me on that, but I think the next start point is a Capricorn start point, and it'll happen during Capricorn season.
So towards the end of the year, so the end of, was that December, January, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the
Okay.
next one. And then Capricorn is like a whole different energy.
Mm.
But it is, you can say, because Aries is ruled by Mars and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, that maybe these aren't the best places that Venus likes.
Mm.
Right? She would much rather be exalted in Pisces, or
Yeah.
in dignity in Libra or Taurus. That's
Mm.
where she like feels the
Mm.
best. She can feel the most comfortable. She also likes being in Cancer too. So Aries and Capricorn are more sort of authoritative, more masculine kind of energy. So it's not like it's like, okay, well, everything's halted until she returns to the sign that she likes to be in. It's more like we have to harness, we have to use those energies wisely, because
Yeah.
they're here now. They're like on the table, so what are you going to do
I
with it?
think
And
it's
with
an
Aries,
aspect of yourself as well. Do you feel what I'm kind of feeling as you're talking about it is the Mars aspect? We've all got it, right? It's all somewhere in our chart. Mine happens to be in Capricorn.
Mars
In
and Capricorn,
and I think it
that's
is. Yeah, I think in
exalted.
yeah.
Strong
So,
Mars, yeah.
but my Venus is in Virgo, so
And she's in there.
panicky.
She's going to be um in fall
Mm,
position.
yeah, so
So
I'm
she
very
doesn't really like being in Virgo either, but there's
yeah.
a light frequency to all of it. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
about
So it's an
embodying.
aspect of ourselves, isn't it? So
It is. It
whatever's
is.
going on in the astrology, it's taking the best aspect. It's just what I feel is the at best aspect of it. Where can you best thrive in this situation? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. I feel like it's also has to do with what kind of astrology you practice, right? So I practice Western astrology, tropical, the tropical, astrology, and with Placidus houses. So there's also so many different types. So
Yeah.
you can be also there's the other astrology, which is the other famous one, which is called Vedic astrology, and
Like
that's,
it.
to
Yeah.
me, that's a little more like fatalistic. So the what I love about Western tropical astrology is the fact that it is more of a psychological kind of analysis
Yeah.
of the person.
Mm-hmm.
And every piece, it's like all these little pieces
Yeah.
of your natal chart can be individually analyzed, but they're working with each other,
Yeah.
and you're expressing either the higher frequency of it or the shadow frequency of it. And it's kind of like you're not, so it's really beautiful, because I love that. I love analyzing things. I love like the psychological aspect. I love helping people understand what's really going on, like
Yeah.
underneath the surface. And
Yeah.
that's why I love Western tropical
Like a
astrology.
map.
But there is a difference. It
Mm.
is. It's like a map. So it is beautiful that it does become an expression of who we are. And we also get to choose, because the natal chart doesn't rule who we are. The natal chart is just the beginning phase. And then we make choices, because this is a free will universe.
Yeah.
And then we choose where we go from there. So the evolution of ourselves is our choice. But the magical patterning of our soul, the potential, is the natal chart, which I think is really beautiful.
Yeah. And so if people look at their chart, it doesn't mean, you might see an astrologer, definitely not Jay, but if you saw an astrologer that told you, oh my goodness, that's not very good, like, you're going to have struggles for the rest of your life, to do with money or something, then actually you can rise that. And I definitely sometimes look at my chart and think, well, I've already kind of done that. And yet I'm hearing the astrology is this is coming. And I'm like, actually, it feels like I'm in it. Yeah. And I would say that about going into Aries. I would say that I'm feeling right on the cusp of that. And I've been feeling right on the cusp of that for a couple of weeks, probably since I put my proposal in. Yeah. So I've kind of been on the cusp of it, knowing like, I need to get going on this and I really want to get going on it. So I'm like already in it. Yeah, I'm just thinking about having Aries. I'm just trying to think. Oh, I have
So fun.
Chiron natally in Aries.
Oh, okay. How
See?
old are you?
So
What's
51.
around? You're 51. Okay.
Yeah.
So you just went through your Chiron return.
I know, right? It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. The wounded healer, if people don't know what Chiron is the wounded healer. It wasn't too bad, but it was, but it's definitely been an incredible experience to look at those parts and see, because also my book is about, trauma and healing trauma and the guides channeling throughout it. So it makes sense that the wounded part of me was, I was a child psychologist for a long time, right? So that's choosing that. It's in the fifth house.
Okay.
Yeah. So it makes sense that it's, about children and creativity. And so I just think, oh God, isn't that really interesting how that I'm in that Chiron return and I'm literally producing this book that is healing childhood trauma. I remember you saying in my reading anyway, you won't remember, right? But it was, it's like, it could not have been better, like a better kind of example of Chiron.
I love that, because when Chiron returns, it's the completion of the healing journey.
See,
and it's almost like, if you think of it in the what the different phases, which is like the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Chiron return is when you step into that crone.
Thanks.
And
I don't really want to be known as a crone.
But I know. People hate that term.
You got to find another one.
But we do. We need to find another one. But it's the wise
woman. That's
the
nice.
wise woman. It's the wisdom. You step into your wisdom. So it's like perfect that this is all unfolding for you, and your book is about your healing journey. I mean, wow, that's really amazing. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah. No, well, at the moment, working title is Awaken the Light Within, which is like, exactly what's happening now, right? Awakening the light within. Yes. And I've been writing it for a while, but it's and they keep giving me the second one as well, the guides do. But it's very much about, we can look at that chart, but it doesn't define you. And I think that's kind of really important to say. If you're listening to this and you think that your chart defines you, it's an amazing snapshot, but it doesn't define you, but you can navigate through it. So Jay, if somebody's listening to this, I'm sure many are, and they're saying, oh, I really want to get, my chart read. What do they need to come to you with?
You mean energetically or in
no, not energetically. They want to come to you, right? Because they want to come to you. That'd be
like information that they need.
Yeah. Do they need their time? Is that important?
So here's the difference. So when you don't have the time, what I do is I look at that whole day. I look from like 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. the next day, and I see what planets changed, if any planets changed signs.
Yeah.
How many, the moon will do a whole bunch of stuff. It may be in one same sign that whole day, or it could switch signs. So what you're not able to see when you don't have the time is sometimes the moon sign, and you won't know what your rising sign is.
Rising, absolutely.
That one switches every 2.5 hours, I believe. So you could have been born like right here, but then 2 hours later was in a different sign. So so you can still get a lot from just looking at that day, because a lot of the slower planets, they don't move. They're going to be in that same degree the whole day. The sun's going to be in that same, you're going to be a certain sun sign, So the cool thing about it is that I can still do reading even if you don't have the time of birth. What you don't get is just the rising sign, and the moon might be different, and then the aspects will be somewhat different, but sometimes because of the slower planets, the aspects are still the same. So I personally, I can do readings without the time. No problem.
That's amazing to hear. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you would love a reading with Jay, I highly recommend it, of course, because I've had two. I had one about relationships and romance, and then I loved it so much that I contacted Jay and said, hey, I want one of these. Can you get me one of these? And she said, yeah. And it was an electional astrology. It was electional. So I was able to sort of see where the best time would be in my chart for me specifically to put my proposal into the publishers. In this case, it's synopsis into the publishers. And it was between a certain point and a certain point. And, then I could kind of feel that was my intuition anyway. So it was great for me to have that confirmation. So if you're feeling really drawn to either have lectional, of course, or relationships or something else in your life, or just a general reading, Jay, how can people find you?
Oh, well, you can find me on my website, which is channelforgrace.com. Guru, Guru. And I also have, everything is like Channel for Grace.
Yeah.
Earlier you were like, oh, it's easy. It's easy for me too. It's Channel for Grace, everything. It's the website. It's my YouTube channel, Channel for Grace. I do a lot of new moon and full moon ceremonies and the astrology of the new and the full moons. Those are really popular shows. And then I have online courses as well, but all that is linked to my website. So if you go to channelforgrace.guru, you'll find everything that I offer.
You
And
can
that's how you
navigate
can.
around it and have a look at
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, if you're listening to this and you really, you feel drawn to this and it's just so much fun, don't take it so seriously, just have fun with it. So when you have a reading with Jay, just go, and I was just like, wow, this is really cool. I really enjoy it. So that's why I had another one on a different subject. And I actually got to do this. I actually got to see her, which was really great.
Yeah.
And that's when I invited her on my podcast, of course.
Yeah, I will say that the readings that are like the funnest and most activating for me are the starseed readings. It's
Yeah.
finding out your starseed ancestry. And I do along with that, I do a little astral starseed DNA activation where I record a audio file that guides you through an astral travel journey to activate your starseed mission. So those two are like my favorite right now. I'm just like, just like in heaven.
That sounds amazing.
Yes.
You listen
So
to
yeah.
Oh my God, that just sounds amazing, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jay, is there anything, I'm just thinking if there's anything else around that people could really gain about this time. Okay, so the guides are sort of saying to me, how can we help people with the light in the dark? That's what I'm just being told. So, we both channel. So I do as I'm told, you do as you're told, right? But they're saying about the light and the dark. How can we help people at this time navigate this light and dark energy?
Oh, well, I love that question. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Yeah. I call them the team upstairs, but they're not really upstairs, of course, but they're kind of around me. But yeah.
God,
Yeah. It's a great relationship. And I trust them. So, to say to me, to help us, because I know it's fun for us to laugh, and we are very, and my membership, my soul family, they're very connected. They've done a lot of work on themselves as we have, but there are a lot of people, and there's no judgment with this. But if you're listening to this and you think, oh my God, like, how can I look outside and see what's going on in the world and feel okay about myself? So I feel like this is quite important that the guides just said that. What can we do, Jay, together to help people with that?
So here's what's coming for me.
Mm-hmm.
I, for like maybe all of 2020, since the Saturn Pluto conjunction happened in January of 2020, I got so engulfed, right? Everybody did. So engulfed in like, I wanted to be up to date on everything, like what's going on over there in the world, what's going on over here. And so I was watching everything that I could get my hands on to get information, all different, aspects of the spectrum, people that had, this opinion, people that had this other opinion. And so I just like dove into it. And after a while, I realized that if you dive into that world, it can be very doom and gloom. So what I realized within myself is when I disconnect, it's like Archangel Michael, right? He cuts the cords to the things that don't serve you, like just stop connecting. Because what's going on right now is there's a book called Alchemy of Nine Dimensions by Barbara Handclough. If anybody's interested, she's actually a Pleiadian channel, but she talks about the fourth dimension, how it is this sort of canopy of all the collective, energies. And it's really gnarly right now with everything that's going on. And I feel like that's part of, like, if you were tapping into that doom and gloom energy, it's like you're feeding that thing. You're feeding that energy. And what we're supposed to be
creating
doing,
more in a way, aren't you? You're creating
yes,
by focusing on that, right?
it sucks your energy. That's why you got to cut the cords and disconnect as much as you're able to. That's what I've done in my life. I stopped watching news things because it's overwhelming. And if you're a being that is naturally emotionally sensitive, you are already feeling what people
You
are
already get
feeling
the
in the world.
collective,
You
right?
don't
Yeah.
need to connect more to that.
Yeah.
You need to find your center, because the way that star seeds, light workers, beings that have shown up to the world at this time to help the humanity, to the ascension of humanity, are here to be the channels, to be the antennas. We are supposed to connect to the highest frequencies that we possibly can, stay in that high vibration so that we are not feeding that kind of negative energy. And I know it's hard. I've been there. Like, there's moments where, like, you just can't help it. You're feeling the gnarliness, the negative energies that are going on in the world. You're connecting to people who are going through hard times, and it's like, it's unavoidable. But self-care, I would say, is the most important thing too,
Yeah.
because you can't escape all of it. You're going to feel it.
Vitamin
you Yeah, you're going to feel it at some point. You're
D.
going to feel that darkness.
Yeah.
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 and
Light,
and
really important.
as yeah, and as much as you can, just keep disconnecting. I know that seems like weird. For some people, it's like, how can you disconnect? Like, there's so much going on. It's like, well, I actually went through this. I dove down that hole and it was depressing. And then you get stuck there, and that doesn't
Would you
help.
say
Yeah.
that you could focus away from it? Like it's easier said than done, right? And I'm going to talk about something the way that I help people with it in a minute. But I feel like, what you're saying is you can focus away from it. Like, you could sit and watch the news, which many people do, and look at one dimension, of what, literally one dimension, the one dimension, looking at the dimension of what there is one conversation going on, or you can focus away. And that can be hard sometimes if somebody maybe's lost their job, or they, in relationship is difficult or whatever. Those are emotions, right? But it is possible. Law of attraction, it is possible to focus on something, even if it's your animal, even if it's your child, even if it's a positive, coming onto your YouTube channel or my YouTube channel, listening to us talking, because we are not in that dimension. We are looking at who we are on a soul level, having a human experience. We are soul having a human experience. So we're not in the human experience where we are in the 3-dimension. Yes, we dip into it, but we come out of it. And I think it's important to find like-minded people, like soul families, memberships, whatever it is. I'm sure Jay has one, I have one. And it's like finding your tribe or your soul family where you can really feel at home and supported. And one of the things I just want to say, because I'm getting prompted by my guides, is to say that I feel that what people are experiencing is a trigger from trauma. So if they are in fear, if they are in this feeling of I can't cope, or hopelessness, or whatever it might be, or shock, whatever, I feel it's held in the vibrational field of the cell, and it's actually being activated. And that's why it's good not to watch the news or read the newspapers or listen to somebody who's talking in a way. Definitely do our inner work. Our inner work is the key to our outer work, right? So it's important to do the inner work so that we can see a different outer.
Yes.
Our reflection is different. But we can also, if we're not doing our inner work, and that isn't where we are at this point in time, if you're listening to that, just switch off the telly for a day and see how, we call it telly over here, and see how you feel when you don't listen to that, or whatever it might be about, not necessarily about what's going on in the world, but maybe, people dying or something like that, like animals, whatever. I can't watch anything like that. Things flash up on YouTube, and they flash up on Facebook, and the attraction to that people have, I think, is only because it's their own fear and their own dialogue that's going on within their field, their energy field and cellular level, same as dis-ease, which is another conversation. But I just feel like this is our key now. And what you said as well, this incredible awakening, this is, if you're listening to this, the Spiritual Awakener podcast, you're listening to this because you are either awakening, you either have awakened, or you're in this place where you know that there's something else for you. You just might not know where it is.
I was gonna say, if your intuition tells you
Mm.
that what you're focusing on is either not right or it doesn't feel right, that's you got to listen to those things, because that's your entire being telling you, like, turn in this other direction because there's something over here that's going to serve you better. And I was going to say one more thing
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
with when we're talking about this time right now, which I'm calling the Great Awakening, right? And you just said something about how our traumas are getting triggered. I feel like for a lot of us here on this planet, where what's happening is the collective dark night of the soul, where yes, all of our traumas are getting triggered because we need to heal them.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
And
Mhm.
so there's a collective
Mm.
going on that's that in everyone dealing with their stuff at the same time. I mean, imagine. That's why it's important if you can stay in a higher frequency. If you can just, I sing and play songs. That's one of my healing abilities. And so listening to music that inspires you, to music that helps you feel connected to your spirit, to your soul, that's lifting up your vibration. And
Yes.
when you can be in that space, then you're actually holding space for everyone that is going through the difficult time. And you don't have to try to get out of the difficult time. You sometimes you just have to let yourself go through it.
Yeah.
That's another
And
aspect.
feel it as much as we don't want to feel that necessarily, do we?
Right.
It's really
You have to
difficult
just,
emotion, but to
yeah,
feel it and let it go. I've got somebody on my membership, and she won't mind me saying, but she's going through really big healing and emotionally crying, but it's good. It's really good to do that. It's good to just let it go and feel it, because I think for so long we've perhaps have suppressed these emotions and suppressed it all within.
yes, yes.
Be
I feel
good,
grief,
the good
the
girl,
grief.
the good boy.
Like I just got an image of like tears,
Mm.
like
Mhm.
just let it out.
Oh my God. And I just got this image as well of the earth crying, like
Whoa.
Mother Earth. I just saw that. It's like a big, really, you feel that? Just like this feeling of the earth and just like releasing, wow, releasing the trauma of the earth, what the earth has been through, all these volcanoes, all these tectonic, we did that earlier, didn't we? Tectonic plates, the tsunamis, all of this stuff. I feel like this is all, what is global warming anyway? It's the earth
Yeah.
just going,
She's
it's going to
alive,
be.
right? She's alive. And so, yes,
I see a
what's
beautiful
happening right now?
goddess
Like,
coming from that. I see goddess energy coming from that as I'm talking to
yeah.
you, like a true goddess, divine feminine energy.
Here's one more thing. I'm just
Come
gonna give
on. We're just like bouncing off each other here. It's great. Yeah.
Oh my God. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say that at this point right now, we have to remember when it gets hard, and it's getting challenging and it's getting difficult and it's getting scary out there. You have to remember that you chose to be here at this
Yeah.
time.
I
Why?
know.
Right?
Contract,
Can you,
right? Your
can you sit
contract.
and ask yourself, why am I really here right now?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
might just set you free.
And whether you choose to believe one thing or you choose to believe another, without talking about anything indirectly here, um, you chose that. And there's no judgment with that. It's just the way you chose it to be and the choices you make. And that person chose their choices, and it's just perfect. And that is another thing that we have to remember as well, because we don't always agree,
That's
right?
true. Mm-hmm.
And especially if families, whole families in my case, choose another way of thinking, and I'm like the one with my beam of light, and that's it. That's all I do. And my children are the same, beams of light, and they choose something different, and I'm like, yeah, we're all beams of light, right? We're all playing this role in the world together,
Yeah.
just different energies, just
Yeah.
different vibrations, but the
Yeah.
same reason we all came together at this time. And those that are popping off, that are opting out, that are choosing to leave at this time, that's also part
Yeah.
of the journey, right?
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. do we have to I was talking about this with somebody else the other day. I was like, we have to let go of our fear of death, because
Oh,
death is not death.
mm,
Death is just a transition to another form. You don't die. You don't ever die.
yeah.
We have to remember that.
It's a jacket. My group, I go on about this all the time, and I'm like, now take the jacket off. Underneath is this incredible
Right?
light, and I don't have any. I don't even care. Put the jacket on. Oh, I'm not sure I like that, and I want to change that, and I want to know about that, and then take the jacket off. So it's like that. It's like that kind of soul aspect of you that knows exactly why you're here, exactly why you chose, where you live, who you're with, who you're connected to. And then you put your jacket on or your coat and you're like, oh, I forgot that. You know, and
Yeah.
it's like judgment of self, and I should be here, I shouldn't be doing that, I should be,
Yeah. My husband has had a couple of actually near death experiences.
oh
And
wow,
he actually, one time he drowned, and he said he was 18 years old. And he drowned in this sort of underwater cave thing. I don't even want to imagine it, but
oh my god,
um,
yeah,
said, yeah, right. He said that when he went to the other side, the first thing that he did when he saw everything in the way that like it actually is, he started laughing, like hysterically laughing. And that is the energy that I like it's like the sacred clown that just like laughs, like because it's all so ridiculous, or like
it's
it's
all
all
just
just,
like
yeah.
means nothing, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's what helps me to deal with the whole thing of like death, is to know that like there's just, we take things so seriously here on earth.
We do.
And we have no idea the magical world that exists out there. The connecting to the stars for me is helping me to deal with my own version of my fear of death, right?
Yeah,
So it's all, you got to find just your way through this
yeah.
crazy puzzle maze that we're in right
That we
now.
chose.
Got to
That
know
we
that
chose.
we're going to be
Yeah,
okay.
that we chose. It's interesting what you say about that, because many years ago when I used to teach circle, literal mediumship circle in my home, the guides said, and it was many years ago, they said, this life is but a moment in time. And when you pass over, when you pass to, you go home, you literally would look at it as a second, not even a second. So we put all of this energy into
It
all
is
the stuff we do want and
magical.
we don't want. And it's all fun and it's all joy. And I keep reminding myself of that all the time. And it's like, when you look at it, that it's this great conversation, because if you're listening to this and you've got really serious, you've probably actually been guided to listen to this because you've got really serious, right? And so we just have a laugh about it, because what else can you do? I think the key things are inner work, align to your mission. Do you know what? When you align to your mission, the world opens up. When I stepped out of the closet, the spiritual closet 12 years ago, that's when my world opened up. And I just think this is our key to really having freedom in this life, is to find out who you are. So have a star seed reading or whatever you feel drawn to with Jay. We're going to leave it there, Jay. Any last, because I could talk to you for hours, any last, we can talk on yours anyway, another point. Any last words you want to say to the listeners, to the audience?
There are so many exciting things to look forward to. And this is, coming back to the spring equinox and the sun Venus conjunction, and so many amazing things, that there's such amazing things to look forward to, that if you gaze, if you focus your gaze on moving forward, that is going to be the best way to serve yourself and to serve humanity. So I want to leave it at that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jay. Oh my God, it's been an amazing conversation. If you listen to this, I really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being on the Spiritual Awakener, listening to our conversation. Please join us on the next episode. And if you have a spiritual awakening story that you wish to share with me and my listeners, I'd love to hear from you. susankennard.co.uk. Much love for now. I just think we're still live.